for our workshop Wednesday.
Right, welcome. So
Welcome.
I'm on location. I'm actually in California today. So yeah.
I'm where I'm supposed to be. I
Right.
didn't float away. So sunny South Carolina. You're all
Right.
the way on the other coast.
Right.
Sunny California.
But we still are committed to doing these workshop Wednesdays every Wednesday. So today we're actually going to talk about choosing the right QBO, because QBO has really dominated the QuickBooks scene as of late. I know a lot of people, I've seen on various Facebook groups and a little bit of frustration of like, how do I even order QuickBooks Desktop because I can't even find it on the website.
You can still get it.
You can still get it, and you can still certainly it's as Carrie you like to
not
say.
Dead. It's alive. It's alive and kicking.
Yeah, as long as there is a hard drive on the computer, Intuit has stated that there will be a place for desktop. But there is a lot of confusion out there as far as what's the right version for my client, and picking the right version. The nice part is that, when you have your QuickBooks clients in the cloud, Intuit has done a lot of work on getting, being able to upgrade and downgrade, and if you're not in the right version, it's easily upgradable, or if you are in a version that doesn't use the right version, or give you, if you're not using all the features, I should say, you can easily downgrade. So it's an easy thing to do when you're not in the right version, but oftentimes you end up losing the discounts or promotions and things like that. So you want to pick the right version, right off the bat. And that's what we're here to really talk about. So we're operating off of the assumption that you're going to go with QuickBooks Online. And the advantages of QuickBooks Online are, that it is online, right? All you need is a web browser and an internet connection, and you can access your books. That is a great advantage as far as getting things started, because there's nothing to download, there's nothing to install, there's nothing to back up. You just log in and it's there, right? So that's a great advantage, and for some businesses that is ideally where they want to be. So there are now 4 versions. That's 4. I showed 5, but 4.
We have to preface with today, there's 4 versions. These can change.
Right. Tomorrow might be something else. You might consider self-employed to be one of those versions. It is an online product, but it's not QuickBooks Online. So that's really for the...
Does it? If you did choose self-employed, which often customers come to you, they've already started with it, but if they've made a huge mess of it, you probably should start over. But can you move self-employed to QBO? Because I hear yes, no, and I think it's still a no.
In theory, yes, but the idea of self-employed is, it's really for the sole proprietor who is mixing personal and business expenses. So the Uber driver, Instacart, all those gig, a musician, for example, they're not set up, but they do want to track business expenses, mileage, things of that nature. Self-employed is really great for that. But really all you're doing there is you're connecting the credit cards and the bank accounts, and then, like Tinder, you're swiping left or right, and categorizing it, personal versus expense versus business. And then you can categorize that, and then that integrates with TurboTax. So it is a great product for someone with that specific need. And then if you do outgrow that, or you start with self-employed, and you want to bring that to QuickBooks Online because they realize, I need something more than $15 a month app, and if you want to bring that up, you can download all the transactions as a CSV, and then you can bring them back in. But you can also do that with your bank. So it's really not a conversion, from one to the other. You're bringing in the bank transactions because that's what you're connecting in QuickBooks Self-Employed. And you can't take the mileage either. So you're just going to be redoing stuff anyway, and you can get that download from the bank when you reconnect it. So
one of the things to keep in mind too, that I tell people, if you are interested in the self-employed, if that's perfect for people who are Schedule C, if they have everything in one checkbook and it's just sort of thrown together, and you can balance your checkbook, but say this is business, this is personal, and not worry about what the personal is, but really get a P&L. So what word did I not use? Balance sheet, my favorite word that nobody knows what it is. But if you have to file a tax return and you need a balance sheet, that's not the product for you. You need to be in QBO and look at those options.
Right. So,
one more thing I want to add in. One more thing before I let us leave this one. So if you're still that small guy, you can invoice from, you can send an invoice, right? And get merchant service within self-employed.
Yeah, you can tie, you can do invoicing.
Right.
So it is, it's kind of like, think of the home-based business, type of situation that would be ideal for self-employed. But
MLM.
We're really talking too much about self-employed. We should probably just
let's skip on. We don't really recommend it for most people. So don't get hung up on getting something inexpensive. So let's slide on up to QuickBooks Online, where we have 4 flavors.
Right.
And should we go to the top down?
Well, I mean, I like to build from the bottom up.
Okay.
You build a house from the foundation, right?
Okay, let's do that.
So Simple Start.
Self-employed, we're switching gears.
Yeah. So Simple Start is really the one-man band type of situation.
One user.
Yeah, you get one user. So right there, if you need more people in your books, Simple Start's not the right flavor. And then if you need accounts payable,
it lets you invoice as well, just like we talked about in that program we won't say again. But if I need to manage my bills, can't do it.
Simple Start won't do that. So it's really ideal for one person in the books. You can invite 2 accountants, so you do have the accountant access, but for at the business, one person, and then no accounts payable. But pretty much everything else, foundationally wise, you can track and manage a business just like any other version of QuickBooks Online. There's just
very, very small
feature, as we talk about the features that you get, you don't have those in Simple Start. So immediately, when you need accounts payable or more users, that puts you at least in Essentials. And then Janet actually posted a question in our Facebook chat. She has a client that uses memorized transactions by group to bill monthly statement charges for approximately 250 members. They're currently using Desktop 2016, and she's just wondering if QBO has the same capacity. So it doesn't do groups, but Essentials is the first version where you can do recurring transactions. So you would have to create those transactions. They'll actually make the journey from 2016 Desktop into QuickBooks Online, but you at least need Essentials in order to do memorized or recurring transactions in QuickBooks Online. So those are the 3 main things that at least put you into Essentials. Excuse me, I'm getting my versions and my flavors mixed up.
All the words get confusing. So the next version, do we mention everything we need there? The next version is the QuickBooks Plus, which gives us 5 users. And it opens up, and the people that are really familiar with Desktop Pro, to me, Plus is as close as you can get with that, as you can in QBO. So if you start with Simple Start and Essentials, and you're used to what Pro can do, you may be like, oh, I really need this, I really need this. So sometimes we tell people that's often a good place to start if those are the features you're familiar with.
Right. So you get 5 users. So right there you get, a 5-user bank of people that you can access, and all of them, have the 2 accountants. So you essentially have 7 users. But it's going to now give you purchase ordering, so you can have purchase orders, you can do progress invoicing based off of that, class tracking, so now you can do classes. So if you have various versions, various departments or divisions, budgets is a plus feature. And then simple inventory. And what we mean by simple inventory is I buy stuff and I sell stuff. Don't do anything to that stuff before you sell it. So I get it
too
from
much of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, don't do stuff with that stuff. So
small list.
Yeah. So you can
desktop is better for inventory. Just had to say that.
But yeah, I mean, you can track your quantities on hand. It does do inventory, but it's very simple. So you can do that stuff in QuickBooks Online Plus. There's something else I wanted to mention about.
And one thing before and I know you got one more thing to mention.
But projects, yeah. So don't let me forget projects.
So the 3 versions we're talking about too. Somebody asked, I think Janet asked, is it limited? So how if your desktop, that, and Pro and Premier are limited and Enterprise is 10 times the file size, that's about the same thing over in Simple Start, Essentials, and Plus. So there's a limit. So if you've got a large company, don't even, go ahead and start, because you get, as we said, when you upgrade, downgrade, and you got like a 1-year discount, you don't want to do that in their first 12 months. So err on the side of bigger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had something to say about project tracking. Yes. That's very important.
So there's project profitability in Plus as well. So, if you have any indication, again, we're operating off of the assumption that I want to go QuickBooks Online for the reasons of QuickBooks Online. Job costing, comparing it to desktop, it's really apples and oranges. But if you want job or profitability based on the work that you do for your business, Plus is the first place to start with that. So you can use the integrated payroll. If you're using payroll, T-sheets, the integration with that will help with labor costs, and you'll be able to track that profitability as well, which is a relatively new option within QuickBooks Online in the profitability center that they have now for that. So anything that you're dealing with, project or job profitability, how much did I make on this particular job? Plus is going to be the entry point for that. So that's really all we want to talk about with Plus.
I was going to say, and in that area that he just described, they're enhancing and putting investment in that. So stay tuned. If it doesn't have exactly what you need, stay tuned. Like you say, these things start coming out. But if it does solve your need versus, the desktop is not the solution, then, by all means, look at it.
Right.
So then we have
just a foundational type of thing. The way that Intuit really looks at, the online offering is kind of like an ecosystem. So like you think about it in terms of, your mobile device, you buy whether you're Android or iPhone, it doesn't do everything that you want it to do for you, right off the bat. You often have to go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and download something that will enhance the experience that you're having with your phone. QuickBooks Online is no different, but because it's already in the online space, there are hundreds of applications that when you reach the limitations of what QuickBooks Online will do, there will be an app out there that will do it for you. So when we talk about job profitability, and QuickBooks Online, it's very elementary. It's very, and there is,
Basic.
they're solving for the people that just need that, the shallow end of the pool, type of thing with job profitability and profitability, and they're enhancing their own feature set. But there are hosts of others that will integrate into the online platform and then give you a greater enhancement of that. But of course, they don't do that for free, so there is typically a cost involved with that. So it's something you consider when you're thinking about, okay, I'm going to with QuickBooks Online, I need this. Okay, what will it do? Okay, if it doesn't, then I need to investigate and research technology that will do it for me as well.
A consideration for that too, which is where ABBO's a great group, is that there are so many apps out there, it's overwhelming. And some of these app places, they have really good support and some don't. And so if you're getting, if you're grabbing an app because it sounds great in the description, read the reviews, do your homework, and find somebody in a Facebook group like ABBO that knows the product. But don't be frustrated, because sometimes a customer might come to you and they've just grabbed up things that sounded too good to be true, and then they expect you to know them. So be sure to stand up for yourself and say, listen, there's thousands of apps, I've got resources, I've got lots of people I can lean on, let me see if anyone's heard of it, because sometimes they're not very well supported. So just be careful. Don't let a customer force you into a third-party app that they don't even know how to use.
Yeah.
That's billable time if you have to figure it out.
Yeah, there's a phrase out there it's kind of like a buyer beware phrase called "works with QuickBooks," right? Just because it says it works with QuickBooks, you want to understand what that integration actually looks like. If it's a payroll, for example, that you're doing outside, and all it does is create one lump journal entry, maybe you need more than that. So you got to do your due diligence when you're looking at these apps that say works with QuickBooks.
Right.
Yes, it does work with QuickBooks, but it maybe doesn't do the work that you or your client need.
Exactly. So are we ready for the big review?
Drum roll.
So as some of you that have been in QuickBooks Online know that the list limits were in this first three that we talked about. QuickBooks Online has no list limits. They give you priority circles. So when you call into...
You're talking about advanced. You just said QuickBooks Online.
QuickBooks Online Advanced.
Advanced, yeah.
I'm going to that fourth, the upper one. Sorry. The words, the terms. Okay. QuickBooks Online Advanced version, you get priority circle, and that, and as a pro advisor, sometimes that conflicts with you. So just make sure you let them know what you can do and where they can help, because they can call and then they'll get routed, to support or whatever they need. If they need to get anything added on, like the integrated payroll and the credit card invoicing, if they need to add that kind of stuff, and you can actually help them with that. So just kind of figure out who's doing what. It does come with training. And so Dan's got a really good idea on how to use the it's like $1,500 worth of training or whatever.
Yeah. So you've got the built-in on-demand training that you can access for you and your team. And, when we talk about the team, you can set up to 25 users in your QuickBooks Online Advanced subscription. So, you're not going to be limited there when it comes to, how many, but you can have people who just do accounts receivable, and then some people that just do accounts payable, and you can tailor the on-demand training that gets included, so you can onboard your people, with their, that takes you out of the equation of having to do that training. You can set that up, as a business owner or as somebody who's supporting the client. You can set up the training, on demand, so that when they bring on somebody new, okay, they're bringing on a payroll person. Okay, here's all the QuickBooks payroll information that you would need to do that. And then they have their follow-up training of, okay, this is how we do it here in the business. that may be different than the standardized training included with QuickBooks Online Advanced.
And they are they've changed the security roles. So the first 3 versions that we gave you, they have different security roles, but it's pretty limited. So advanced, and this is what they're working on as well, but they have changed it so you can customize those security roles and check off some boxes on where you want people in and out. It's not like enterprises on the desktop world, but it is better than what you get with online. So if you need people in certain areas to see or not to see different, how is it separated, Dan, by payroll, payable?
Yeah, there's sales, and then there's expenses, and then payroll and financial, and subscription. Those are major areas. I think there's 7 major areas, and then there's sub options within each of those areas. So you do have a greater flexibility. Again, we would not compare it to on par with enterprise. If you need granularity, with your security settings, enterprise is still, the leader in that area with regards to QuickBooks security. So you can get really granular in enterprise, but again, that's the foundation, and then they're just going to keep continuing to build on that as needs arise. Like, okay, we need this more, this feature, or they'll be able to add that in the online.
One of the things that it has is the reporting feature too. That's that. Okay.
Yeah. So the KPIs, and being able to make a graph, for whatever it is that you want to do, it's built in. And so there are a lot of add-on values that are in QuickBooks Online Advanced that you just don't get, like the online backup. So being able to go to a restore point, because that was always, when I worked at Intuit, that was always a tough conversation when it came to, well, I imported this list and it went backwards, right? How do I go back to before that happens? Well, you can't. So QuickBooks Online Advanced has that included. So you can go, okay, well, we have a restore point from yesterday or wherever, however often you set it up, and it's included, so you can just restore back to that point. Anything that you did between now and then, you would have to re-enter, but it might, that's where you just weigh the options and do that. So otherwise you would need, again, an app, which would be an add-on in the other flavor versions of QuickBooks Online.
One thing I wanted to point out to make sure that people know too, because we get asked this all the time. When you set up a customer on QuickBooks Online, each customer gets its own file. And so you have to get a separate subscription for each one. And that's one of the differences over in the desktop world. You can open up multiple files, and in enterprise, you can even do multiple file reporting. So that's not the case over here. It's a subscription per company file. Now, people have figured out workarounds, but my rule of thumb has always been for any company file, if there's one federal ID, that's the company file, one subscription per federal ID. And even over in the desktop world, that's the rule of thumb for it. So if they have a ton of files, you may want to reconsider what that would mean for their expenses. And as we were talking about with the third-party apps, they may need something pretty deep with more, say, job costing or inventory, and they add on a program. It may, you just have some learning hurdles and get some experts to back you up.
Yeah, one of the things that you're working on, maybe in the next couple of months, is we're trying to come up with a decision matrix along those lines, like based on the business needs. I need job costing, or I need e-commerce, or I need, this is what, and then come up with a list of here's your options, right? So it could be enterprise hosted, or it could be online advanced with these other, third party apps to be able to work with that. And then you can actually make a good decision based off of, okay, this is what my business needs. This is what QuickBooks offering would work for me. And then you go, and then that's a good launch point to start from. So it's not always, okay, I got to start them in QuickBooks Online. There are other options, and we talked about that in another workshop Wednesday of the various ways that you can still be remote and service other QuickBooks products as well.
So don't forget there's hosting, because especially times like this, people are real funny about change. So if they come to you and they're a complete disaster and they don't even know how to touch your software, then we're, introducing them to something that you're going to be in charge of, no problem. But if they come to you and they're heavy and love desktop, you have to really think hard before you put them in QuickBooks Online and have them lose some of the features that they've gotten, used to. Make sure you really get in there in their point of view. And not have them, going crazy, and vice versa. Either product, whatever product they're in. If you're comfortable in desktop and they're in online, try to figure it out. Get another pro advisor to work with you and help you get up to speed fast, so you can solve those problems.
Yeah, so we can talk about this kind of stuff all day, but we do want to kind of wrap it up and come in for a landing here. I did put in your website where it just on Complete Business Group, where it just goes through each of the things that we had kind of talked about there. And you have a what do you call it? The baby card?
I call it a baby card because I have pictures of like the stages of the products, just to kind of give you a visual. I wrote notes all over this, but I have electronic version of this on our website, and then the features for QBO, just to give you something quick to look at that might trigger, oh, yeah, they have to have that. I have to have at least Plus or essential, whatever the answer is. So trying to make that easy for you. And what do you have, Dan?
Then on School of Bookkeeping, what we're actually doing is we're creating a course for each flavor of QuickBooks Online, so that if you have a client that is currently using one of those versions, you can go into that course and see all of the things and the features and the options that they'll be able to do. So they're still being published. They're about 50% for each of them at this point. So it's in process, but you can go to schoolofbookkeeping.com. I'll put in the one for Simple Start in the chat there, so you can go check it out. All of the overviews are free to watch, but of course you can sign up for a free trial, for a month and watch all the videos that you want as well. So I'm going to put that in the chat as well. And anything else, Carrie?
Only thing I can think of is, I don't know if you want to give them a sneak peek of next week, so they'll come back.
Right. So next week we're actually doing the bank feeds. We're going to talk about the online in QuickBooks Online, the bank feeds. We have a brand new course on School of Bookkeeping for that. There was actually a change to that, so I got to make an update before before that happens, because that's one of the advantages and disadvantages of QuickBooks Online, is that it changes pretty regularly. The bank feed, I'm seeing it on Facebook now. It's rolling out. There's a brand new look and feel to the bank feed, but there was a change in the receipt forwarding feature in the bank feed. So we'll talk about that next week on our workshop Wednesday. And anything else you want to add before we say ta-ta?
I think that's it. So we'll check make sure we didn't miss any questions, and hopefully those resources will help you pick the right product and feel a little stronger in your knowledge.
And Robin did ask a question: is SOB only for QBO? No, we're definitely going to have everything in there for desktop, point of sale. But we're starting with QuickBooks Online, getting that information out there, and then we'll move on to the other products as well.
Since QuickBooks Online likes to change things, we want to have it right. And then all we have to do is slip those little updates in. So you'll be in
Exactly.
really good shape, and then we can hit the other ones and update them. So
All right.
What
We
you
will see you
think?
next week.
see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.